cigars. They've been out. Harold knows this because we got somebody on our board. New York, every quarter I have to go through warfare to get the state to release CSPG money.
Wow.
And the last time, the caps had called me in November. They had not received money since June of last year, and they were still owed 1 quarter of CSPG money for 23, and no communications on 24 money. And the state told the agencies, problem's OCS. I take on OCS all the time. Problem is not OCS. So I told the caps, no, you got on November 1st or November 2nd, you got this amount of money in the state. Then the state said, well, the problem's actually the comptroller. He's holding it up. Well, the comptroller, I think, has been in office about 115 years. Everybody knows it. So I had 2 members of Congress call him. He hit the ceiling, 115-year-old guy, hit the ceiling. Said the words that I'm pleased that he's still new, and just declared a war on the state. This is just not true. I'm lying to you. And then finish it off, we had the 2 members of Congress, Morelli and former member Steve Israel, so a good friend, call the governor, then call the governor's chief of staff, and then call the comptroller. Just because every quarter we've got to go through this. There are states that they have not seen CSPG dollar in a year. We've got states that are sitting on over a year's worth of CSPG money from previous years. States that insist on 100% eligibility rather than the 200% that we did. So at any one time, as Harold's aware, we're dealing with 8 to 10 to 12 problems. And so what do we need to do to try to get those addressed? On top of that, agencies are talking to us about other needs that they have. Not enough CSPG money, not enough local control, too much paperwork, too much regulatory reporting that I had an agency track it for me, and half of their CSPG dollars goes into filling out paperwork for the state, this annual report. So here's what we're looking at, decisions we're making. What can we do this year to maybe ease some of the burden of problems that we're having? So that's part of our agenda. And second, how do we make sure that we got adequate funding going in what may be a fairly turbulent time period coming up? So I've got 2 thoughts I'm going to put out to you. I'm going to intersect those in the following way. Number 1, on appropriations. Tom Cole is now chair of the full House Appropriations. That is a big deal for us. Cole has been a friend, somebody that I share a love of books with, that I talk to a lot. I travel with him. Cole likes our programs, he loves his agencies, and we're close. That's a very good thing when you have the appropriations chair. Let people know that this program's a priority of his, and he has, and it is. So that's a good development. What Cole is saying is that I want to mark up all the House appropriation bills in May. It caught me by surprise. That's a month quicker than I thought it would be. And he wants to honor the Biden-McCarthy agreement. And the Biden-McCarthy agreement on debt ceiling talked for basically a freeze in 24, but 25 you'd adjust up a little bit. So that's what he wanted to do. Here's the rub. Last week I met with the chair of the House Labor HHS Appropriations Subcommittee, named Robert Adderholt from Alabama. Adderholt wants to basically start with last year's bill and perhaps go down. And last year we worked with Adderholt successfully. Every one of our goals worked out. Our strategy worked out. CSPG was not threatened. LIHEAP worked out. Head Start worked out. Everything worked out. It took a while, but it all worked out. Adderholt wants to sort of reignite that fight, that slash and burn, at least on the House level. So tomorrow, I go back to D.C. right after my speech. Tomorrow's a big day because I'm with Cole's staff, full appropriation staff, and you'll get to these guys very strategy on this. So number one, we're going after 800, we're at 770 now, but I'm also looking for an opening to get us to much, much higher. And the reason I want to do that, to get to like 915, 920, is we've got small states that get 1/2 of 1%. I raised it in 89 and 90 from 1/4 to 1/2. Our reauthorization bill raises it to 3/4, and that did pass the House in 2022, and Tom Cole did vote for it. They need more money, but I want to do it in a way that everybody gets more money. So I'm looking for an opening to say, yeah, let's go to 915, 920. So tomorrow will tell me if we can do that. And then, of course, the 200% is important. So we've got a lot of work to do there. Second, I'm getting inundated with complaints about all the reporting requirements, the paperwork, a lot. So I raised last week with the first one. Tomorrow I'm raising it with Cole's full committee appropriations staff. Can we blow up the current reporting requirement and try to simplify it? Try to get what the essentials are, because a lot of what's collected, Congress isn't interested in. And if you have agencies that receive a small amount of CSBG money, half of it's going into reporting. So I don't know where I'm going to end up on this. I just decided last week, and had one conversation with Ad Holden's chief of staff. I don't know, but it's high on my list tomorrow. So if I put out a cap brief on Wednesday, I may not spell it out as closely as I've laid it out to you, but you'll know whether that was successful or not. And when we deal with states not getting the money out, OCS, I call them and say, what are you doing about this, this, or this? And for the last 4 or 5 problems that I've taken on disbursement of money, timely disbursement of money, OCS has said to us, we can't do anything, good luck. Or it's not our responsibility, good luck. I'm also looking, is there anything that we can do to start getting some things along those lines that we can, you starve an agency, they're going to rob a program, one program to pay for another one. That's when the agencies come into trouble. Next, what we need to do, what we are working on, we've got some problems at local agencies. One not too far from here, one a little bit further west, and 2 or 3 on the East Coast. So got some problems. One of them is potentially very, very, very impactful. Trying to understand those problems, trying to be prepared to answer questions. Hopefully that we can work through those. But just so you know, we're in a time period in which problems have consequences. And you'll hear CAP say, yeah, but there's 1,000 of them. We're going to run into trouble every once in a while. That's acceptable. Look what they do in the Pentagon and all that stuff. That's them. This is us. And what our 60-year history has done, it's proven that we're responsible for this program. Obama didn't want $1 billion in R. In fact, it was the only program that they opposed. We got that. The Biden administration didn't ask for reauthorization. That was our bill that we drafted and got the House to pass in a very substantial bipartisan way. Reagan, Bush 41, Bush 43 wanted to eliminate the program. It was us that said, no, you're not. We're going to build it. We have a responsibility for this program. And we have a responsibility to carry on the purpose of this program. So, the problems, the consequences come to us. We got to understand them, and we got to have an answer for them. LIHEAP will be good. House is in good shape, Senate's in good shape, but here's one suggestion. And it goes back to what I said about 3 hours ago, too, or 10 minutes, depending. And that is, members want to feel appreciated. And a lot of members tweet. You familiar with tweeting? A lot of members tweet on lighting and weatherization. Occasionally they tweet on CSBG, and it's not, and there's one today, it's not the good ones. So they want to feel appreciated. there is support there to always protect light. The issue is, can we move it up? Can we move it forward? I'm not worried about it on the downside. I'm worried about how much we can do to meet its needs. Weatherization is in good shape, except that we need some improvements. We need to raise it at ACPU level. DOE, what they're doing on Wednesday, is in large part, I mean this sincerely, in large part, the pressure we put on DOE. They may not admit that publicly, but privately, they tell you that we have forced their hand. DOE's got to do better on this program. And Congress has to move some reauthorization legislation to raise the ACPU to get the readiness fund permanently authorized. If the Senate or the House changes the way I think, Democrats will chair the Energy and Commerce Committee, but the ranking Republican, the lead Republican, will be Brett Guthrie of Kentucky, who is a very, very close friend. And Guthrie wants to get things done bipartisan basis, and weatherization, I am 100% sure, and I'm current, weatherization is high on that list. So we have to take ownership, we gotta move it, and we gotta get this done. We have a community action caucus, bipartisan caucus, that I haven't done much with because I haven't had much time. I'd like to do some briefings. I'd like to create a laboratory and innovation fund, because the competition that comes after us that wants our money attacks the program just because they're 60 years old and they've got the legacy. Why do they deserve money today? We're meeting new problems. We're doing things differently. We deserve some of that. So we want to figure out a way to reward innovation. And finally, what I'll say is this, and that is the reauthorization. We moved a bill in the House in 2022, and it had 30 Republicans supported the most bipartisan bill that year, poverty bill. But we would have had 40 or 50 more if we didn't have this one controversial provision, and it's religious liberty versus civil rights. I mean, it's a huge issue. Think abortion, same kind of politics. Our intentions were to introduce a reauthorization bill this year. It's written, you know what it is. It's a must-have bill, and it's Thompson and Bonamici. But I'll know by the end of the week. We've got and I want you to follow this. We got a big problem in Milwaukee, a big one. That affects Tammy Baldwin, who chairs Senate Labor H. Sarah just tweeted about it, HHS Secretary this morning. Gwen Moore, who's on Education and Workforce Committee, is pretty upset about it. And I guarantee you, if our friends know about it, our enemies do as well. So I'm rethinking. Do you want to throw something out there simply as a placeholder? I wanted to see what the opposition is. I want to give members in tight re-elections opportunities to say, I'm with you. And we're still getting a big bounce from our vote in 2022. I want to put something out, also, raise a couple of new issues. But I don't want to do it if it's going to be just allow or accelerate unrelenting attacks on the program. So problems have consequences. So even though Congress's approval rating is about 18%, that's spouses and lobbyists, that's the only people that support that. And that much is getting done. 50 bills have reached Biden's desk versus 100 in 1917, 1918. And that was the previous low. Even though there's the drama each and every day of is Johnson going to survive, or what partisan issues are going to emerge. All that is occurring. We're still moving ahead on our agenda. I like where we're at. And the reason I do is how I want to focus. And that is, we truly control our fate. We really do. I look at all these other programs and what they've got to go through. This is local control, and we want to make sure it always remains local control. Flexible hours. This is one that you can go home and every night and feel good about what you've done in your community. Not many other people can in Washington these days. Certainly not many other lobbyists can do that. You can make a difference. We make a difference. So I view the fate of this program, the fate of America's commitment to eradicate poverty, as a good portion of our responsibility. And what we know and what we've learned, the lessons learned, are number one, fighting poverty isn't easy. It's hard. If it were easy, somebody else would have done it. We also know that we're not perfect. So people say, we're America's best kept secret. No, they know about us. Or how great we are. We're good. We're very good sometimes, but we can be greater, more impactful. We know that. We know that lessons learned, that you better have both parties supporting you. And that both parties care about the poor. I'm not talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene or the Freedom Caucus. But we know that both parties care about the poor. They just disagree whose responsibility it is. But what unites them is both parties care about their communities and doing something helpful in the community. And we know that we meet that test. We also know that we wouldn't be here unless there weren't leaders over the years in the network. You know, the Bob Cords, the Charles Braithwaites, the Litzos, Harold, many others. The leaders that have sacrificed and made that effort on that. We also know that Lyndon Johnson may have declared war on poverty because it was a Kennedy idea he could take credit for. It was. We know he might have declared a war on poverty because the civil rights community wanted it. They did. We know that as a new president, he needed an initiative. This was one that allowed him to complete FDR's revolution. It was, and he did. And we also know that what an issue to bring up to declare a domestic war, first one since then, war on drugs, war on cancer, war on crime. We also know that declaring a domestic war certainly gets the attention of all the communities in America. It did. But we also know that he declared a war on poverty because it was the right thing to do. It was right in '64 and it's right today. So I want to leave you with a quote that from a little known guy by the name of Winston Churchill. But I like this quote a lot, and that is, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. I love that quote. And that quote defines us. Our role, what I try to do, what UCAP tries to do, and others, we try to give you a living. It's our responsibility to worry about Washington, to make sure that we got your back, that we make the good fights. But what you do in your living, what you do in defining your life, what value you create in the communities, is up to you. And I would hope that all of you have the highest standards possible, because at the end of the day, being the point of the lens, as Stryber would say, in having the responsibility for eradicating poverty in America is an incredible responsibility, an incredible opportunity, and an incredible challenge for all of us. And through all of your efforts going forward, can we meet all of those challenges? And let's make the next chapter